muchachos, after a short break, because I mean it is extremely hot here. Whew. We are now going to complete the mission and cross into our third country today. So I'll give you a little recap. We started off in Peru, now we are in Colombia, and now just a couple quadras from here, quarteirões, soon to be, we are going to cross from Colombia to Brazil. Vámonos! Hoje já sei, vamos! Now I can use my native Portuguese speaker skills. Should be fun. And of course the principal mission in this type of weather is to buy some authentic açaí from Brazil. If you know anything about açaí, it is an extremely sweet traditional Brazilian ice cream type of thing. And yeah, for instance in Portugal it is all a fad, so you can see in every other street corner there's an açaí shop popping up, and they charge 10 to 12, 15 euros for an açaí cup, which of course is a robbery. And yeah, we'll try the traditional Brazilian price for açaí. None of that Western chain rip-offs. No, we ain't about that. We are going the traditional, the indigenous route, the Amazonian route. I've mentioned this already, but I'll mention again. I've been to Brazil 4 times in my life when I was very little, with my family, and so therefore I don't remember basically nothing from most times. The last time I went was to Recife, in the, as they call it, Nordeste, the northeast of Brazil. And what I was saying, and that one, the last time, I think it was in 2010. I remember, partially, not that much, but partially. But the other 3 times, twice to Rio de Janeiro and once to Salvador da Bahia, also in the Nordeste, I don't remember at all. So yeah, this will be officially my 5th time in Brazil. And honestly, Tabatinga, I think it's in Amazonas state of Brazil. So the thing is, Brazil, like many other countries, like United States, Germany, what else? Mexico, what else? India, of course, those 5 countries at least, many more, I think. Not many more, but more. Look, are federal countries, which means that they have a central government whose capital is central city. So for instance, for US, Washington DC, for Mexico, Mexico City, for Brazil, Brasilia, and then they are separated by states, so not provinces. So there's a federal government and a state government, and Tabatinga, check it out. Tabatinga is part of the Amazonas state of Brazil. So you can see the 3 flags, Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Colombian flag, and right here. Bem-vindo a Tabatinga, Brazil. Let's see how much the language changes. Boa tarde. Onde é que há aqui uma loja de açaí? Uma loja de açaí?
Açaí?
Açaí tradicional do Brasil.
Aqui pra frente, amigo.
Aqui para a frente?
Parece que é uns 600 metros, eu acho.
600 metros? Ok, obrigado. So yeah, I've had also many questions from people, just asking me around if what's the difference between Brazilian Portuguese from Portugal and Portuguese from Brazil. Obviously they're the same language, and in terms of language barrier, there is absolutely no language barrier. This means if you speak Brazilian Portuguese, you can understand Portuguese from Portugal and vice versa. But at the same time, there is an obvious, evident distinction in the accent of the people, and despite that, there is no language barrier. So I cannot really explain how that is. But yeah, the accent is obvious and noticeable, the difference between Brazil and Portugal. But despite that, there's no language barrier. Look. Brasil. Volto logo a Tabatinga, Brazil. A country that was colonized and founded by my country, Portugal. This is Brazil is actually our little, our imperial, how should I say this? Our imperial pride, yeah, that's the best way to say it. Portugal, so little, 10 million people, colonized and created, effectively, a country of so many millions, so big, the largest in South America, one of the largest in the world, and up until the 19th century, a global superpower. People don't realize how important and how strong, both economically and militarily and all those other facets, the 19th century Brazil was, at the time, the Empire of Brazil, when Brazil was a monarchy. Because the thing is, Brazil was a colony of Portugal, and then when Napoleon invaded Portugal, our king, his name is John VI, fled to Brazil. And turns out that the weather in Rio de Janeiro is much better than in Lisbon, and so he decided to stay there. But eventually he was demanded to come back, and he left there his son, Dom Pedro Dom Pedro IV, which means Dom Pedro IV, Portugal, and we eventually led the independence of Brazil against Portugal. So can you imagine? Picture this: the Portuguese king himself, Dom Pedro IV of Portugal, decolonizes its own colony and gives independence to Brazil, becoming the first emperor of Brazil, the first of two, in fact, becoming Dom Pedro I, Dom Pedro I of Brazil, and later under his son, Dom Pedro II, which means Dom Pedro II. Brazil, the Empire of Brazil, reached its apex. And then there was the revolution, because Brazil abolished slavery very, very late, in fact. I think the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery in 1888. And then there was a revolution that deposed the monarchy, and Brazil became the republic that is today. So see how much love there is for Portugal, if even the Portuguese king decolonizes its own country. Desculpe, acá onde é que é açaí? Açaí, onde é que há? Açaí, autêntico, restaurante com açaí. Onde?
Tu está vindo para lá ou está voltando?
O mais perto que há.
Uma quadra aqui.
Uma quadra? Ok. Obrigado. So yeah. Brasil, carago. And obviously Portugal has a lot of Brazilian immigrants that come to work there. And it's not necessarily because Portugal is a great country economically, because evidently it is not. But it's because if you are an immigrant and if you work 5 years in a row, I think it's in a row, 5 years in total, in Portugal, you can apply for Portuguese citizenship. Applying for Portuguese citizenship and getting it means you are effectively an European citizen. And that just, gives you access to everything. And check it out. Sorvete. Sorveteria. Açaí Amazonas. That's where we're going. Brasil. And check it out. It says Escola Estadual Marshal Rondon, which means State School of Marshal Rondon. And Marshal Rondon was a Brazilian 20th century marshal, military man, who was an advocate for indigenous rights and protector of indigenous land and nature. And so, in fact, there is a state in Brazil to the far west, south of here, south of the Amazonas, which is named Rondônia, after that man over there, Marshal Rondon. But yeah, less talking. More açaí. Let's go for it. Shoo, look at that. É por peso, não é?
Sim. Você vai querer com leite condensado e tapioca?
Peço desculpa?
Leite condensado e tapioca?
O que é tapioca?
Tapioca é como se fosse um cereal de...
E o outro é o quê?
Esse aqui é leite em pó.
Sim, pode ser só leite condensado. Este e este aqui. Este aqui também, por favor. Pode ser este aqui. E aqui queria, que molhos são estes, por favor?
Aqui é algo de cerveja. Se você mesmo pode ser.
Ah, eu meto. Ok. Peço desculpa. Só me dizer que molhos são estes aqui. Isto aqui.
Geleia de maracujá, de morango e cereças.
What do you think? Este aqui também posso-me servir? Ah, vou meter estes. Yeah, let's put this. Some of this, which I have no idea what it is, but it's going. Some of this. This is all pink, it's all about the pink color. And with this. Ah, shit. How about these? No, these are not needed. Just going to place these as well. I don't even know if this is going to taste good. I'm just so hungry. So I'm going in my heart rather than in my brain. Check it out. Woo. Big ass bowl of açaí. More. Okay, let's give it some caramel. Oh man, look at this absolute monstrosity. Check it out. Absolute monstrosity. Shoo. I mean, but I'm a hungry, that's why I go overboard. Extremely hungry. Something from the top. This is barely moving. Amazing. I can feel the refined sugar. The chocolate has dried out. It's very good. This is already my daily caloric intake tenfold. Again, this is good. Look at that. Hard to say. This puts every other ice cream to shame. Look at it. This has got to be the best dessert ever. I can't describe it. It must be better than opium. Better than opium. Yeah. That is it. I have to say I'm satisfied. Satiated. Pessoal, é isso. I have to say that I'm feeling kind of sick, and this is what happens when you eat, when I eat this type of extremely sweet, extremely addictive foods. Can't control myself, then I go overboard, and eventually I get sick. But it will subside. That was a very good experience. My first açaí in Brazil. It was extremely tasty, I mean, really. The amount of sugar, the addictiveness of sugar, can't even fathom. Olá, tudo bem? It's very weird and strange how, you know, just from one street to the other, the language changes. I mean, really, it is very weird. So these divisions, these political divisions and social divisions and whatnot, really are felt, I guess. And the Brazilians here really speak just like the Brazilians from any other place. Which is very weird. I mean, just on the other side, you're speaking Latin American Spanish, Colombian Spanish in this case. The same that you would speak in Chile, for example, or Argentina. And you simply have to cross the street and the language changes. It is drastically impressive. Caramba! Caramba, Brasil! Check out this mural. Man hunting green anaconda, the largest snake species in the world. The flags of Peru, Brazil, Colômbia. Sejam bem-vindos. Sejam bem-vindos. Which means you, plural, you're welcome. Volte logo a Tabatinga, Brasil.
Letícia Amazonas está presente também.
Tudo bem? Tudo a andar? Tudo a andar? And it's so hot. We are in the middle of the Amazon jungle after all. What would you expect? So, that is it. We're leaving Brazil after being here for what, half an hour? Volte logo a Tabatinga, Brasil, Amazonas, the name of the state. And we're in the border, still border. Buenas tardes, ahora, Colômbia. Polícia Nacional de Colômbia. Lá, está bien? Yeah. Just what, 5 meters and you go from tudo bem to todo bien. Olá, todo bien? No es necesario. So yeah, that was it. Our little trip to Brazil. Hopefully some other time I'll come back, visit more, stay a little bit longer. But yeah, till then, adeus and adiós.